Dark Nights is the brand new Halloween event at Hersheypark. While Hersheypark had offered a family-friendly Halloween event for years, it was lacking the scare zones and haunted houses typically found at other large parks during this time of year. That all changed in 2022 with Dark Nights. But how does it stack up to the area's other haunts? Find out in this review of Dark Nights. This review will focus exclusively on the new Halloween event. If you want to learn more about the rides and park in general, please check out my detailed review covering all that. Until 2022, Hersheypark offered Hersheypark in the Dark. This was a relatively mild Halloween event where kids could go trick-or-treating by day, and then adults could enjoy special lights-off rides and specific roller coasters at night. It was always surprising Hershey lacked a scarier Halloween event, especially because of how much money they make, but that all changed in 2022 with Dark Nights. Kids can still go trick-or-treating during the day in Treatville, but the park transforms at night. From late September through October, the park now offers 4 haunted houses and 3 scare zones. The latter are included with admission, but the haunted houses are an additional fee. For $25 to $45 extra, guests can get unlimited admission to the 4 houses. Hershey uses dynamic pricing, charging more on busier days like Saturdays and holidays. To pick up a pre-purchased wristband for the haunts or to buy one at the park, you need to get it at the HP Go kiosks around the park. Most people use the one by the main entrance, so this one gets a really long line at points, but there are several others throughout the park that tend to have much shorter waits. Quite a few people were confused that the houses were not included with admission, especially because this is the first year Hershey has done the event. When you enter the queue line, you must tap your band. This caused a lot of backup to enter the line throughout the night. Season pass holders can save $5 per person in the houses, or they can purchase an all-season add-on for $100. Those visiting for just a day are wisest to purchase the bundled option online combining admission to the park and houses. Hershey has always been a very pricey park to visit, but the benefit of the Halloween event being so pricey is it has a lot less riffraff than some of the other Halloween events in the area. For 2022's Dark Nights, the park as a whole is open from 5 to 10 p.m. on Fridays and 2 to 10 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. Dark Nights then runs from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. on these days. Saturdays are not only the costliest day, but it's also the busiest. Therefore, I would advise visiting on the other 2 days if possible. If crowds are heavy, you can purchase a fast track skip the line pass. Separate ones are required for the rides and houses. The ones for the rides cost $50 to $130 in the fall depending on the day. The one for the houses costs $15 to $40, again depending on the day. I visited on the Saturday of Columbus Day weekend, which was one of the park's busiest days of the year. Standby waits for the haunted houses hovered around the 60-minute mark for most of the day, but Haunted Coal Mine was closer to 90 minutes for much of the night. For this reason, I purchased the Haunted House Fast Track. It got me onto 2 of the houses almost immediately. Descent had a short wait after merging, and Twisted Darkness still took a half hour from the merge point. While this definitely helped during the hours the rides were open, remember, the haunts stay open an extra hour. Now I heard the park thinned out during the last hour, but I was skeptical that it would repeat itself on one of the busiest days of the year, as it literally took me 1.5 hours just to get into the park, and Stormrunner had a posted 4-hour wait at one point. But the park literally became a ghost town during that final hour. After riding Candymonium, I walked back towards the houses, passing a mass exodus of people leaving the park. Just look at how dead the midways were back by the scare attractions during that final hour. The haunts were near or total walk-ons during this time. It would have been possible to do all of them sans fast track in that final hour. Therefore, I'd prioritize the coasters when those are open, and then do the houses at the end of the night. It also has the benefit of making Haunted Coal Mine and especially Creature Chaos better, because those two are partially or mostly outdoors. If you try to hit all the houses in the final hour, a good chunk of that time may be spent walking between houses. They're really spread out throughout the park. One is across from Skyrush, another is back by Trailblazer, then the final 2 are to the right and left of Laugh Track. So how good are the haunts? 3 were decent and 1 was excellent. The set quality was about on par with a Busch Gardens Hallow Scream. The jump scares were not as plentiful as some other parks, but each house had 1 or 2 really effective ones. One aspect I really liked was that each house included a brief 20 to 30 second pre-show to set the theme and story for the maze. It was a nice touch to add to the immersion. One downside though was that each haunt clearly had security members stationed around almost every corner that could briefly take you out of the environment. Guests were sent in roughly groups of 10 to 15. There was decent space between groups, so it was less of a conga line than some other parks. Therefore, all the scares were reset and you'd see them all. So if you stay together, everyone will get to see a majority of those jump scares. This had the side effect of the lines moving slower than other parks, though. The best house was easily Haunted Coal Mine. The pre-show starts with an effect that'll make most people's heads scratch. Then the maze was full of nice sets. You had some sizable pieces of mining equipment, plus an explosion sequence towards the end. Then there were scare actors who'd jump out at you at several points. This one was fairly well staffed with miners hopping out at you, with the highlight being the sequence through a misty walkway as it'd pop up from below your sightline. This house would fit in at Halloween Horror Nights. It was that good. Creature Chaos is a mostly outdoor haunt. It starts inside an arena before going outdoors through a repurposed midway covered with fog. There were many points you could not see the person in front of you. It was that foggy. At some points I didn't even know where I was supposed to go. This is probably why the sets were not as strong in this one, but there were a few solid actors. The descent's theme was a bit weird. A woman grabs a viroscope lens that allows her to see the past, present, and future. Then you walk through the sewers. The house was pretty dark, but there were a few nice sets scattered about, and then there were some really fun scares. The lady from the pre-show is the two best ones, including one where she swung forwards on a zipline. Last but not least, Twisted Darkness was a nightmarish carnival. You go through a mirror maze, past some sideshows, and then there are some loud scares, but the latter are a bit more predictable than the other park's haunts. It was probably my least favorite of the quartet for this reason. Now, what about the other offerings during the event? There are 3 scare zones, and honestly, I was very underwhelmed by those. Midway of Misery had a gratuitous use of fire, and then the other 2 were covered in fog, but I didn't see a single scare actor in any of these. I wasn't expecting HHN levels of quality, but Six Flags and Cedar Fair scare zones are much better staffed by comparison. The park also has a shop with some exclusive Dark Nights merchandise, plus a few new food items, but I skipped those, instead choosing to prioritize rides and houses. The final perk of this event are lights off rides and the coasters. Hersheypark turns off the chaser lights on their wood coasters, then the spotlights are disabled on Candymonium, and because it's usually cooler for the event, you also have a good chance of getting a trimless ride. Then Laugh Track runs in complete darkness. It still has a bazillion brakes active, but it does make the ride a tad wilder not being able to see what's coming next. Then it's also a great time to get night rides on several of the park's other coasters. Storm Runner is breathtaking at night, as every drop plunges into the fog. Great Bear has a similar effect once the sun goes down. Sky Rush then is one of the craziest coasters in the world anyway, but it feels even faster at night. It's also worth noting a few of the kiddie and family rides will close early, most notably Trailblazer due to the location of Haunted Coal Mine. So do I recommend Dark Nights? Now it is pricey, but I think it is worth experiencing. Hershey may be busy, but it's possible to do all the houses in that final hour, and those houses are about on par with those at Busch Gardens Hallow Scream, which is quite impressive for a first-year haunt. Each house had its own unique vibe, with Haunted Coal Mine being a standout. I'd take these houses over the ones at Dorney Park and Six Flags Great Adventure for comparison. Then you have all the other attractions in addition to the scares. Hershey is already one of the best amusement parks out there. It has one of the deepest roller coaster lineups in the country. Dark Nights gives another reason to visit this Pennsylvania park, and I'm excited to see how it grows or evolves in the future. So those are my thoughts on Dark Nights, the first year haunt at Hersheypark. What are your thoughts on this event? Did you enjoy it as well? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.